Okay, hello everybody and welcome. My name is James Dearsley, the founder of the Digital Marketing Bureau, and welcome to another instalment of the Midweek Marketing Mix. I hope you found us. We've had a few little issues behind the scenes in terms of having to restart this event, but anyway, for those of you who are watching this live and the recording, basically the Midweek Marketing Mix is all about bringing you the most influential guests talking about the most up-to-date news. So sadly, I've had to pick on three people today. We've got Nick Rink here from Smart Local Marketing, who will be taking the first leg talking about the world of local SEO. So thanks, Nick, for joining us. We brought all the way over from the States Matt Britton talking about his latest book, which I don't think you can tell what it is from the great big poster in the background, Youth Nation, which is coming in, and then we're going to finish off with the ever-present Mike from SiteSell, who's going to bring us some of the latest information on the world of social. So, hey guys, thanks ever so much for bringing that in. Bit of housekeeping. Basically, as you may know, we stream this through Google Plus, and we use what's called the Showcase app. So please do, if you want to comment in the stream, ask any questions to any of us, please just, if above my head there's a little square with a little diagonal line of an arrow, click that and you will be able to ask questions in the comment stream. So do bring them in. I am literally looking forward to bringing them in. For example, I'm just going to bring this one in from Nazim. Whatever you do, guys, discuss, do not touch Meerkat and Periscope. I've had enough. Right. Nazim, that sort of screws completely Mike's end bit, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. We've got Mermal coming in. So, hi, Mermal from Brooklyn. You're joining us, so good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So we do that, so do please comment. Also, if you're watching this through social media today, use the hashtag #MarketingMix in Twitter, and again, we'll bring all the questions in and the queries that you might have. So look, without further ado, let's bring in Nick. I'm going to turn on all the articles in the Showcase app for those of you who want to see more information. Internet, if you're watching this not live, click on the Be Part of the Conversation tab, and you'll see all the articles that Nick is referencing here. Let's just talk about, so it's been a busy week. Nick, what's going on? What's your biggest bit of gossip?
There's all kinds of stuff going on. It's accurate and what is just plain. The things that stuck out for the last sort of week to 10 days is the fact that Twitter are going to be launching, partnering with Foursquare, so that you can actually tag specific locations in your tweets. So now, you can actually have your rough location already for Twitter now. What they're rolling out, I believe, just in the US and Canada at the moment, is that you're tweeting away, and if you're in an actual location, and a bar, a restaurant, wherever you happen to be, put that location in your tweet so people know exactly where you are. What that might open up, whether that's going to open up to, you tag a place and you get served a particular ad. I guess that's one of the ways that it might go. It's going to be handy for business owners. I believe there's going to be a way that you can actually see everyone that's been to a particular location. So if you click on it, it'll have all the tweets underneath of people who have visited that place. Obviously handy for the business, probably pretty handy for the competitors too.
Oh, interesting. So
that's
how are you thinking of that? What are you thinking on that, Nick, in terms of the competitor side? So, seeing who's
you can
where, when, how, or?
Yeah, I mean, if you're monitoring a competitor location, if it's a bar or a restaurant, whatever it happens to be, and you've then got all the people who have been across the street to your competitor. You can look at their tweets, put them in a particular Twitter list, and maybe reach out to them that way. Yeah, that might be one way to look at it, and it could be for a variety of different things. I mean, since Foursquare split their check-ins from their Discovery app, this looks like another way of them using their location data, much in the same way that it's already used on Pinterest. I mean, on Pinterest you can build map-specific boards, and that data again comes in from Foursquare. So it really does highlight. It may not be, well, opinions vary, I guess, depending on who you talk to. It may not be quite what it was, but the massive location data and the accuracy of that data, they are using that and selling that out to developers. So for local business owners, it is important that they have a presence on Foursquare, so that if people want to to check in, or if people want to, tweet where they're at, that they can do that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think it's a really interesting move, because the other angle of this, which I keep on seeing week in, week out when we're talking about this in the Midweek Marketing Mix, is that Twitter seem to be, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Nick, but Twitter seem to be trying to keep as many people into their own apps, because as far as I'm concerned, this is only accessible through the Twitter app on your mobile devices, where the little Foursquare pin pops up. It seems, again, they're trying to be very inclusive of their app, not outside. Is that right?
I would tend to agree with that. I mean, Mike might have a bit more insight on that, but I think they are all about now trying to keep you on platform. Yeah. And as search and discovery and everything else becomes so much more local, I mean, the whole web is going more mobile, and becoming mobile means we've got much more of a pure local focus. This is potentially quite handy for Twitter, I think.
Absolutely. Mike, what do you think about that? You on side with that in terms of keeping it all on platform?
Yeah, it's interesting because you can pretty much go back to the day of their IPO and tell when there's been this shift in their perception of the usage of their platform. And it's a real challenge for them, because on the one hand, they want you on Twitter.com or on the Twitter app so that they can leverage your user activity and your behavior. But on the other hand, they really like the fact that Twitter permeates everything about the internet. They like that you're embedding tweets onto articles. They like that you've got follow buttons and those kinds of things elsewhere. So they're trying to walk that line between how do we control that user experience and monetize it, and how do we still give people the freedom to do things with Twitter that helps broaden that Twitter brand.
I also think with the explosive growth of Instagram, Twitter has kind of lost its role in our culture as a lifestyle tool. It's in terms of celebrities, they've really embraced Instagram, and in some instances they've actually departed from Twitter. And I think one reason why is that they're much more associated with the sharing of articles and more of sharing of media than they are the actually sharing of experiences. So I think with Twitter embedding actual locations, they're hoping that people will start to share their experiences at physical locations, which is really what Instagram's all about.
I tell you what, it's something I picked up from your book, which I absolutely love, which is your acronym DIFTY.
Yep.
Which is did it for the Instagram. I mean, that sums it up, right? I mean, that's where people have gone to. They've done for the DIFTY, and I've never heard that before. Loved it.
I coined it. That's why I never heard it.
Get it traded. I'm going to trademark it now. It's brilliant. That's true though, right? I mean, everyone's departed from this Twitter, and what they had is they sort of passed everything out to everywhere else. Now they're trying to bring it all back in. I mean, just look at what we've had recently. So we've had the buy button, we've had the sort of in-app purchases, we've had the in-stream video stuff coming in. I mean, Twitter are massively moving. I mean, over literally the last 2 or 3 months, every single show has had something about Twitter all the time, about them keeping it all together on platform.
That's right.
Fascinating move for those guys. But look, we can't talk for long on it. So, guys, if you want to find out more about what Nick has just mentioned about that, there's a really good article in the Showcase app. So if you're watching this in the recording, do click on that, be part of the conversation button. You're not going to jump into this, but you will see all the articles that we're listing. So do sort of mention that. Now, there's also some talk, again, bringing in the local side about these home services. Nick, what's this about Amazon and Google sort of kicking around? What's going on there?
Well, Amazon sort of rebranded and relaunched their home services platform last week. And it is literally just a place that you can go, and initially it was for if you were buying stuff from Amazon, so you were buying a TV, you needed someone to fit it. That's the sort of service that you would be able to look for on that platform. You know, someone to fix your flat screen TV to your wall or whatever. Yeah. And what it's sort of got moved into now is a broader range of services. Still all home-based, so plumbers, electricians, that type of stuff. I haven't had any, because it's only available in the US. I haven't had any first-hand experience with it. But on the page, there is plenty of information there on how to get in. Maybe partnering. There was an article I read earlier this morning. Actually, I think they may be partnering with TaskRabbit. who are based up in San Francisco. So maybe some of that. And then, there you go. And then late yesterday, that popped up on BuzzFeed, and Martin, it was Martin Shervington who pinged me in on it, and rumors that Google might be looking to do something similar later this year. Now, clearly, there's been no comment from Google. There are a couple of local search folks who know people there. They've reached out and asked for comments, and we haven't heard anything back. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. It might just be a BuzzFeed rumor. It might be something more than that. But the potential of rolling something like that into Google My Business, so that when you go and do a search for a particular thing, instead of getting your usual local search results, you can get a choice along with prices and deliveries and all the rest of it. Could be quite interesting to see how that moves forward. If you start putting Amazon and Google together, offering that type of service, what that spells for the likes of here in the UK, say Checkatrade, or even some of the the main sort of directory sites like Yell and Yellow Pages, that type of stuff. It could be quite interesting to see what happens with that.
I'll tell you what I really picked up on, and I'm just sharing the screen again here, which is this BuzzFeed article that we've put in the Showcase app for those of you who want to have a look at it. I think it's an absolute no-brainer, and it shows what Google are trying to do with this Google for Business side. We've got on here this compare quotes for car insurers for Google. Now, as far as I'm aware, at the moment, most of this is still, again, only US orientated, but imagine this in your search, where you can compare quotes directly from Google search. This could be for anyone, right? I mean, the application is fast for this, and it comes back to your whole point on the local side and the local reviews, and the more you're reviewed in local, because I think that's what I picked up on the Amazon side as well, which is you've got to be absolutely a verified user. So it's encouraging people to sign up to their respective services, right? So it's only strengthening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing is it's there are more of these. You talk about the Uberization of search and things like that. I mean, if you need a taxi or a car these days, you don't necessarily go onto Google to look for a taxi company. You might use Uber, or here in London we use Halo, or something like that, and that's happening right across the board. TaskRabbit, you can get everything from a website design to your cleaning done. So there's all of these different things, and I think Google they're realizing that they need to do something more than just straight up search results.
Oh, they're trying to monetize everything. And I tell you what, on that basis, let's move that into the next article so that we can move quickly into this, which is what I think is a really interesting concept, which is called the city on the map, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm correct, this is about Google have reckoned. I mean, they really want to ramp it up. They want to ramp this whole building local businesses and putting them on Google Maps. So can you just explain that a little bit for me, what this is all about?
Yeah, they started a program back in 2011 called Get Your Business Online, which was all about looking to try and help small business owners get a website and all the rest of it. And that was running. I know that was running through North America. It was also running here in the UK. Last week or the week before, they started rolling out a fresh initiative alongside that is literally called Let's Put Your City on the Map. And you can go to the website, you can plug in your zip code, and there'll be a ton of information there about how many businesses they've helped out with, partners that you can look to work with if you're a small business owner, and you can actually try and find your business and see how it looks online. This one is really all about making sure that businesses are claiming ownership of their Google My Business listing, which is hyper important for local search.
Absolutely. And funny enough, I mean, this is a website.
And again, this is just North America.
Yeah, exactly. Do you feel we're being victimized here, Nick? Us poor Brits.
A little, yes.
Yeah, it's not fair. But this is what we've got here. So it's gybo.com, which is the official site for this. And I tell you what, just to sort of mention what I thought was really interesting in the article, which is in that Showcase app again, click be part of the conversation, you'll find it, was that people are 38% more likely to visit, and I didn't get if that was the city or the business, incidentally, and 29% more likely to purchase with a complete listing. So that sort of culminates both of those. But
That'll be the business.
The business, okay. Only 37% of businesses have claimed their local business pages, which I thought was also interesting. And the most astounding thing for me was their claim that if this works, it's going to generate income of $300,000 for small cities and up to $7 million for large cities. I thought that was a fascinating poll. I mean, Mike, I don't know what you think about that, but that's quite a statement, right?
Yeah, I don't know where they came up with that.
How do you pull that out of that?
Yeah, because conceptually they're talking about people in those cities using those businesses, and they're suggesting that just because you now have some alternatives, you'd spend more money?
Yeah.
I'm not following the logic.
No, you and me both. But look, let's move on quickly to the last thing we're going to talk about, really, because let's all put a vote on this. Who thinks Google's going to buy Twitter? Anybody? Come on, Matt.
Maybe. I mean, I think Twitter is struggling a little bit from a monetization standpoint relative to their expectations. I think Facebook has been so successful at monetizing their platform, especially over mobile, that Twitter's under tremendous pressure. And I think with Google and their programmatic kind of AdWords-driven product, that they could really plug nicely into Twitter. We'll see. It depends upon valuations. There's a lot of drivers of an M&A situation with two publicly traded companies. I think it's possible.
It's a fascinating move, though, because as far as I'm aware, Twitter's share price went up 4% yesterday just based on rumors.
Yeah.
Cities obviously like it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Rumors and speculation often drive up stock prices. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, though.
That's true. That is true. Mike, what do you reckon? They're going to buy them?
I don't think so. I think Twitter simply needs its ad product to mature, and then they'll have a steady driver of income just like Facebook.
Well, I think they need to institute some sort of algorithm, like Facebook's new what's Facebook's? It's escaping me. Facebook's algorithm where they basically dictate what goes into the feed as opposed to it being a free flow. Because I think right now there's just too much noise for consumers to get value, and for advertisers, especially with their own platforms, to get value. NewsRank. I think that Twitter needs to implement something like that.
And Nick, what do you reckon? They're going to buy them?
I can't see it right now. I mean, it's the second report in 3 or 4 months, so someone's filtering some news out there somewhere. Maybe it's speculators just trying to get Twitter's stock price up. Who knows? But yeah, it's fun to talk about. I think it'd be a good fit. I mean, going into Google's, the streams that everyone's talking about, real live, instant content could be pretty valuable. But yeah, I mean, like the guy said, how do you monetize it? So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think it's an interesting rumor. If it ever goes ahead, I'd be fascinated to understand the money that they're going to start exchanging and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it doesn't make sense for Google because obviously they need that real life element of search because that's what it's all about. But I don't know. It'll be an interesting one. But anyway, that was the rumors for the news side for anyone who's interested, which is Google were looking at the suggestion of the rumor that Google was looking to buy Twitter. Twitter stock rose by 4%. Interesting insights into that. But look, let's move on because I'm conscious of time. As I said, we're on the midweek marketing mix, so bringing you the influential guests. I'm talking about the latest digital marketing news. And each week when I do this, I like to bring on either a website to discuss stuff which I found, which I think is pretty cool, and we bring on the website guys to discuss it. Or alternatively, I really like talking to book authors who are producing books, which is cutting edge stuff, which have just been produced or just coming out. And I came across this weeks ago on Amazon as a pre-release, which was a book called Youth Nation. And I'm going to screenshot this because I can't remember off the top of my head the tagline. Building, because it's so cool, Matt. You've got it in the background.
Building remarkable brands in a youth-driven culture.
Hey, you know that. I don't. It's sad, isn't it? But look, I read about this weeks ago, and I got in contact with Matt and just said, look, I'd love to feature on the show because one of the things that I'm ever conscious of is this hashtag millennial. The millennials are changing the way that marketing is fed. And so, Matt, you very kindly come to join us, and so thank you for that because I think
thanks for having me.
I really enjoyed reading most of this, and that's key to reading a good book. And congrats, your first book, right?
Yes, sir. Excited about it. Comes out April 20th.
April 20th. Well, I haven't got the link in the showcase yet, but I will make sure I've got it on there because I'm sure you can release it now. So we'll get that on the showcase app. But look, let's start off with. In fact, I'm going to read the tweet, and I've got it up here in the disclosure thing. He said, "Let's get started and right away because in Youth Nation, everything happens in real time and in the blink of a Snapchat," which I love. But that's pretty much the premise of Millennial Marketing Youth Nation, isn't it? It absolutely happens immediately.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're not only in a mobile-first world anymore, we're on a mobile-only world, especially with the millennial demographic. And if they're in a mobile environment, they have a touch-based device, and when they have a touch-based device, they're scrolling through content at light speed. So if you're a brand and you want to capture their attention, you need to be low on the text, heavy on the imagery, and very succinct in the message. Otherwise, you're just going to keep scrolling down the feed, and you're not going to be seen, and you're going to become invisible.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody who's anybody. I mean, actually, to be fair, are you suggesting that is different to any form of marketing now? Do you think companies are particularly hypersensitive to that, or?
Well, I mean, just from statistically speaking, millennials are even more attached to their phones and even more smartphone dependent than other demographics. But yes, I agree that I mean, the premise of the book Youth Nation is that millennials are not they used to youth culture used to be a counterculture in the 60s and 70s. Now they're not only not on the fringe anymore, they're the driving force of the American business landscape and the global business landscape. So everything that millennials are doing are now impacting every business and everyone. So when I talk about the things that millennials are doing, yes, it's heavily concentrated within the millennial audience, but these trends and these cultural forces are extending to everyone.
Pretty powerful, isn't it, really? So almost, I suppose what you said there, it's not mobile first, it's mobile only. You could almost, and I put this to you, put a suggestion that if we're looking at building brands, because I'm going to come on to that in a minute, but if we're looking at building marketing campaigns, are we sort of suggesting that if it's right for the millennials, it's going to be right for everybody else? Would you go so far as to say that, or maybe not?
I mean, I think the actual lifestyles of millennials are certainly different than sort of a married family in the suburb with 2 kids. But I think the trends that they're adopting, such as gravitating towards cities, such as embracing the peer-to-peer or sharing economy, such as prioritizing experiences over the purchase of physical goods, those sorts of trends that we're seeing that millennials embrace are soon going to be trends that we're going to see embraced much more widely.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, look, let's pick up on, because one of the topics one of the suggestions you've made, and I'd just like you to expand on it, is that you said the news feed is the new soapbox, and that we're fighting constantly for space.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing more so than, I mean, this is probably what you're alluding to there, which is you've got to be visual and you've got to be so quick. Is that what you're saying to that when we're fighting for space? Can you just...
Yeah, well, it's actually fighting for Mindshare. I mean, yeah, the news feed's actually the first medium ever which has combined content from individuals. So it could be your friend's honeymoon pictures or baby pictures, and then the next item on the news feed might be Beyonce's new video. Then it might be the newest sneakers from Nike. Then it might be a story, a political story from CNN or BBC. So you have basically, you have news, you have personal content, user content, you have brand content, all mashed together. So now all of a sudden everybody's competing. Nike is competing with you for the attention of their consumer. So because everything is mashed together in a news feed, it's kind of changed the game. And everybody needs to play by the same rules in order to capture the attention of the end user, of the end viewer. And yes, one of those principles is to be highly visual, to make sure you stick out, to be consistent, to understand the unmet needs of whoever is viewing your content.
So I'll tell you what, pick up on that word there, consistent, because it's one of the things that you allude to quite a few times in the book.
Yeah.
And one of your chapters is, well, 2 of your chapters is 100% built around brand. So, brands for people and people for brands. I think are the 2 separate chapters, right?
Yep, correct.
One of them you mentioned here that you've got to have tips for your own brand, and it really resonated for me, this, because I think this is particularly pertinent for anybody looking to get into the social media space that we are in now.
Yep.
And especially on the young guys, right? They don't understand this. I mean, I'm shocked that we're talking here about the millennial landscape and how we as companies and brands have to adhere to what they're looking for. But I'm shocked actually at how little people know in that age group about social and digital marketing. So it shocks me. So it really sort of here. But you give 5 tips for your own brand, and I'm going to list them just in case because I would forget them.
Cool.
You mentioned so consistent brand, which is what I just picked up on the consistency. Top 5 platforms you've got to focus on. You also then mentioned sort of some ancillary platforms around it, which I thought were quite interesting. A single value proposition, content strategy you've got to stick to. And what I've sort of consolidated down to sprinkle and humanize at the end. Could you just expand on those for us? Those 5 concepts of branding in this age now.
So, right. So when I talk about people or brands, I mean, the big driver is that people are competing with brands and the media for attention. And it's not just if you want to be in the social media space. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, or if you want to get a job, or if you want to get the attention of somebody who you want to date even, you need to learn how to build a brand, because branding works, and you need to look at yourself as a brand, and you need to look at all aspects of how you're being represented in the social and digital space, and make sure it's consistent. Make sure that you're known for one thing or a few things, and not kind of be scattered around. Make sure that you're human, so people actually get to know you and like you. All those things, I think, play a huge role in helping a person build a following, build a brand, build a reputation for whatever they're trying to accomplish in their lives and their career.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? The amount of times when I'm dealing with companies and I'm saying to them, look, forget your company brand for a minute, because every single member of your staff is their own brand in their own right.
Correct.
And some of the component parts of that company is far bigger than any corporate logo that there ever is out there.
Yep.
And that's what you want to focus on. Make sure every single person in your company has their own unique brand, which complements your company. And then as a result of that, your company is going to fly.
Yep. Yeah. So you mentioned the 2 chapters. There's people or brands, which is basically what I explained, the notion of personal branding, and there's also a notion that brands are people. Because again, since brands are competing with people, they need to humanize themselves. They need to have a voice. They need to have a look, tone, and feel that's conversational. You need to take a corporate logo of a big company like BMW, and BMW now needs to be an entity that you can speak to and that has a personality. And that's a completely new facet for brand managers to understand. In the past, it was just product and brand and visuals, but now you actually need to bring that to life. So again, people need to learn how to become brands. Brands need to learn how to become people in order to get attention in this new world.
Amen to that. And I tell you what, you give 3 core components, and let's just look at each of them in turn. You mentioned that you've got to have 3 core components of branding. The first one is look.
Yep.
Tell us about look.
Well, I mean, I think you need to have a consistent look to your brand, because there's so much noise in the social media space that if you have a consistent look, then people over time will recognize that look and associate it with your brand. So you can benefit from frequency. I think a lot of brands are kind of schizophrenic in their approach to look on social, just kind of grabbing the new hot thing. And in doing that, they're really losing the ability to take advantage of frequency in the social space and really actually make an impact on somebody's awareness or perception.
Yeah, I tell you what I really, and you've got to forgive me, Mike and Nick, on this. I love the fact in the little sort of small thumbnails, right? Because you guys have a little bit less hair than I do. It's just really funny when I see you both nodding your head, because the light reflects off of both of your foreheads so much. So I know you agree with Matt, which is great, right? That's what we want.
Cool.
So look, okay, we've done a look. What about, sorry, and I've offended you, Mike. You guys can quite rightly disappear off now.
Yeah.
Can't believe I've just done that on a live podcast as well. Terrible. All right, so that's look. What about tone? You mentioned tone a lot as well.
So tone is basically how it's almost like a personal tone. Are you humorous? Are you brave? Are you satirical? What is the tone of your brand? If your brand were a person, what type of person would it be? What type of dinner parties would you want to invite it to? What type of conversations would you have? That's all based upon kind of the tone of a brand's voice and how it actually speaks to the individual. And again, if the brand has a tone, that's going to impact how a brand tweets back to a consumer. If there's a customer service question, or if there's some sort of inquiry that comes in, a brand needs to have a consistent tone, so it feels like you're talking to somebody that's the same, not that's going to change if there's going to be a different moderator that's handling a brand's Twitter handle.
So, and this, I mean, and we come on to the last one, which is feel, in a minute. But what you've just said there is you've got to understand exactly which market you're trying to target, because I mean, obviously you can't be all things to all people, right? So when it comes, and forgive me for this sort of rather sporadic question, but if I'm a brand and I'm saying, right, I've got a new soda to launch, and I want to target that specific demographic, how do we as businesses look at that millennial marketplace and say, well, look, we've got to have this look, tone, and feel? How would you recommend that they tailor their branding accordingly? What top tips would you give anybody?
Well, I mean, I think the same branding principles apply to building look, tone, and feel as it has for branding for generations, which is you need to have a design target consumer. So yes, a lot of brands, Mercedes targets consumers as young as age 18, as old as age 80, right? So, but ultimately, every product they launch has to have a design target. Who is that design target? Who's your prototypical consumer that you're going after? What are they looking for this brand or product? And then how does that impact the way that you're building your look, tone, and feel? Yes, you're going to have a wide consumer base, but you deal with those same issues when you're running a TV spot.
Yeah.
And feel is how a consumer is going to feel after they interact with your brand. Are they going to feel inspired? Are they going to feel hungry or thirsty? Are they going to feel angry? Are they going to feel elated? Are they going to laugh? Are they going to cry? You know, how do you actually want consumers to feel after interacting with your brand? Because if you can elicit an emotional response from them, you're going to impact them in some way that will probably propel them to, at a minimum, remember who you are. And you're usually going to get that accomplished through creation of content versus advertising, which is the general in social media marketing, is you don't want to push out advertising, you want to create content. And if you're creating content the right way, you will elicit a feeling from your end consumer.
I totally agree, absolutely. And funnily enough, you just alluded to it right at the start of this segment where you said, you know me, like me. And just to sort of complement that, I mean, that is, as far as I'm concerned, it was a phrase coined by Penny Power here in the UK, who's now been knighted, actually. She was awarded, and Nick, you may not know this, she was awarded an OBE, which is an Order of the British Empire, so it's a pretty big thing. She was the first person, male or female, to be awarded it for the activity in social media. And she wrote a book years ago, right, called Know Me, Like Me, Follow Me. And she's, I mean, lovely, lovely person. She actually lives very close to where I grew up. And I actually add something on the end of that, which sort of, this conversation you just had there is very pertinent to, which is know me, like me, follow me, buy from me. I always put that last little bit on there, because ultimately in social media marketing, right, Matt, I mean, unless we're doing this, we're not doing this for free. We're doing it to make money. So you've got to add that little bit of element right at the end, which is the sort of the monetization side.
Correct. There's got to be a call to action. There's got to be at some point where the brand can cash in on the goodwill it builds. But it's not always just about selling. It's not just about selling constantly. You need to learn how to elegantly integrate your offering in a way that still adds value to the end consumer.
Couldn't agree more. All right, look, let's. I'm going to make sure that the link to Matt's book is in the showcase for all of you watching live and recorded. So again, if you are watching recorded, just click on the be part of the conversation to access all these links for here. But in the meantime, look, I've got to apologise. Right. So Dennis, I'm sorry for taking the Mickey. Taking the piss out of the Baldies. So yeah, Dennis, I'm sorry, mate. I'm there. All right. I won't do it again. But actually, some interesting sort of thoughts on here. So Lee's made some interesting comments here. I have one. So Foursquare Twitter, FS is owned by Google. Yeah, okay. So would this mean a benefit to using this option in regards to search engine rankings? Any thoughts on that, Nick? Guys?
I don't think Foursquare is owned by Google.
They're not.
Pretty sure it's not. No. But
Lee may know more.
I don't know. I mean, Foursquare's just important. It's just important to get your business on there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, look, I'm bringing this in purely because I love the term. Donald, thanks for this. What a load of poppycock. I love that term. Twitter to being eaten by Google. But rumours sway markets. Yeah, you're right. Not sure what poppycock is. Great show. Cheers, Donald. That's really appreciated. And what else have I got on here? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is actually correct. Yeah, correct. And Lee, you're right on this. So Gary, and I can't remember his surname, Gary Vaynerchuk, the jab, right hook. Yeah.
Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk.
That's the one. That's the one. He talks faster than I think, which is...
He's great.
But yeah, Lee, you're absolutely right, and it's a cracker from that. It's a really good book, so well worth a read. Okay, so what else have we got in here coming in? Oh yeah, this was a point I saw earlier from Mel. Just to put to all of you guys here, really, I highly doubt the US government would approve a Google acquisition of Twitter. Interesting. Legal woes, antitrust issues on the way. Mike, any thoughts on that point?
Yeah, I saw that. I'm not 100% sure that would be a real.
I disagree.
issue.
I don't think it's an issue either.
Yeah.
They don't really have market share. They don't have market share in terms of usage that would impact it, and they certainly don't have revenue market share that would impact it. So I don't think that you'd have antitrust issues with a Google. Now, if Google were to try to buy a Facebook, or an Apple were to try to buy a Facebook, or something like that, yes, I think then that'd be a different story. Or if you get an Amazon involved, but I think Twitter is such a small market cap, I don't really think that would trigger it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do this, right? We've all got some sphere of influence. Mine is infinitely smaller than most of you guys. Let's all buy some stock in Facebook, and then let's all start this rumor, get BuzzFeed involved, and then sell in about a week's time.
That's called pump and dump. You can go to jail for that here in the States. So
that's fine. Nick and I will be fine.
I'll take a pass on that one, on the record.
We're so jealous of you guys getting all this whole, sort of cool stuff on Google. We'll do it, and we'll let you take the fall for it. It's fine. No one will mind. All right, look, let's move on. So, Mike. I don't know if you saw this, but Michael reckons that you're this week's tech totty. There you go. Cool.
And I'm not sure how to take that.
No. From Michael, I'd be a bit warned as well, to be honest. But
yeah.
It's purely we had two very attractive girls on last week, and he got a bit excited. All right, sadly.
Oh, okay.
Michael, yeah. So but I don't know how to take that either, because that must mean that you've got some unbelievable influence on him. So.
Well, it's not the hair.
No. Well, look, let's annoy some people, because I think we're going to talk a little bit about this whole live streaming stuff, right? And we're 2 weeks on to when we first started talking about it with the Meerkat stuff. Periscope launched the day after the last midweek marketing mix. What's going on, Mike? Tell us what's happening out there.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and we've actually been simulcasting. I've got my phone up here, and we've been simulcasting to Periscope throughout this whole time.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings me to one of the issues with Periscope that I'll get to in a second. But for those who don't know, Periscope is a standalone app. It's tied to Twitter. It was launched by Twitter, but they're kind of their own startup team. And it's a live streaming app like Meerkat. And the beauty of these apps and these services is that it's super easy. You push a button and you type in some text, and you are broadcasting live from your phone. And it's even easier to consume. And that's what's been the attraction with these apps, with both Meerkat and Periscope. They have ready audiences. They've been tapping into Twitter, although with Meerkat, that's an issue now that we can talk about. But everyone's got a smartphone these days. I think the estimate is 2 billion smartphones, 2 billion people with smartphones next year. The bandwidth availability is high now, and as a culture, we're far more used to sharing our everyday experiences in a real-time basis. So I think that's why those three factors are why suddenly there's this explosion, seemingly, of live streaming. Because it's not new. We're live streaming now. Hangouts have been out for a while. Live stream, Ustream, WhatsApp. There's been solutions and opportunities to do this kind of thing for a while. But clearly the timing was right, and there was a known need or desire for this kind of activity.
I tell you what you've just said there, funny enough. I mean, the amount of people I've heard who have said the timing was right. And that is really why suddenly there's this massive influx of comment and talk and discussion about it. But interestingly, in Matt's book, and I think he's just left, he talks an awful lot about the fact that the 4G revolution is totally
I'm still
changing.
Here.
Oh, you're still there? Sorry, mate. Oh, there you go. The 4G revolution is changing the landscape of real-time marketing and millennial stuff. So is that what you're suggesting here, Mike, which is really the Periscope Meerkat? It's a fault of timing with data plans and speed of internet and all this sort of stuff is just changing everything, right?
Yeah. Now, that said, I know a lot of people are going to be shocked next month when they look at their cell phone bill and they didn't think about all the data they were using when they were streaming. But once that kind of levels out a bit.
Let me read this out, Mike. Because, sorry, just to interrupt, because I picked this up last week from the thing. The average user, right, uses 522 megabytes of data a month. Streaming on Meerkat, so forgive me, I haven't got Periscope. Streaming on Meerkat is 4 megabytes a minute, which is 240 megabytes an hour. So basically, if you live stream from your phone for 2 hours, you've ostensibly used up your entire data usage in a month. And then even just watching a stream, you're using up 2.3 megabytes a minute. So 4 hours of watching a Meerkat stream bites your massive chunk out of your thing. So you're right, yeah? I mean, it's gonna go massive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what we're seeing is some of the most popular usage of these apps is when you're at live events. You know, Meerkat really exploded in popularity at South by Southwest, and Periscope exploded in popularity during Social Media Marketing World. And while both those conferences may or may not have had Wi-Fi available to the users, a lot of people probably were opting to use their cell data access, their cellular access, because the Wi-Fi's were too slow or they couldn't get on. So a lot of people are using their cell to consume and broadcast this video.
Well, look, I've got some feedback here. So I've got Meerkat and Periscope is correct. I don't even say that. You must be sure to roll the R's. Okay, and I've got Nazim who's just mentioning here, great live streaming is fun. I must say, I've just joined your Periscope. So you must have had experience of both sides of Meerkat and Periscope. I mean, your thoughts on this, Mike? Which one are you preferring at the moment?
Yeah, right now I have a personal preference for Periscope, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not a video broadcaster myself. I happen to be streaming now. It's probably only my third stream through Periscope, so I'm really more of a consumer from that angle. But if I'm looking at those apps and some of the alternatives from an objective perspective, it really seems like Periscope has the edge. They're backed by Twitter, so they seem to have presumably more funding. They're now connected with Twitter, whereas Meerkat's connection to Twitter was discontinued, which means that connection means you can find your audience quickly and easily. Right now, when I stream through Periscope, I'm automatically notified of all my followers. I'm able to find people quite a bit easier. So that seems to have the edge.
And I mean, Matt and Nick, have you guys used it much yet in terms of this side of stuff? And what have you found?
I've used it. I'm on a book tour right now, so I'm going around the country and doing speaking engagements at universities and big companies. And I have Meerkatted a few of the presentations, and you know, it's hard because sometimes the phone will shut off by itself because it's not detecting any activity. Right. So the actual hardware sometimes prevents you from actually filming the whole thing. I did make sure I was on Wi-Fi before I did so my CFO didn't wring my neck. It's cool. I mean, I think that it's going to have a problem sticking long term. I think it's a fad, and the main reason why is that 99% of the content that people are live streaming is just unwatchable. Yeah. And I think over time, people are going to have so many poor experiences tuning in, they're just going to stop tuning in. Maybe celebrities and who use it will be ones who can actually use it, but in terms of a mainstream audience adopting it, I think it has a lot of challenges.
Interesting. I mean, Mike, I suppose this is back to you in this respect. Does this beg the question around, which is going to last, and big brands using it well will do well out of doing it?
Yeah, you kind of cut off the question a little bit there, but I think I understand what you're asking. And I look at it a lot like Vine. You know, Vine hasn't really taken off yet because of the limitations of the kind of content that you have to produce for that network. Periscope and Meerkat are the same thing. You've got to have a video and a presentation ready to go that makes sense for that platform, that's going to be interesting to your audience. And from a business perspective, that's a huge challenge. Me as a content producer, about the best thing I could do that would make sense for my business would be to read one of my blog posts, and that just doesn't sound interesting to me. I'm sure it's not interesting to my audience. So there's some work to be done, both in improving these apps and in just determining how they're going to be used, how they could be used to make a difference for businesses.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I like the Meerscope side, because if you use a hashtag catch, obviously it will then say to YouTube. I mean, part of the reason why all of these Hangouts are good for me is the fact that I use it as visual content. So what I particularly like was the strategy that was suggested last week, which is if you're going to do this live streaming, is make it a regular thing. That your audience, as you are building your audiences, they know that at 9 o'clock on a Monday, you are going to give them an update on the particular area where you are becoming a social influencer on. And if you can then back that up and it's automatically saved into YouTube, then you get the YouTube embed code and you can repurpose the content. So I think that there are legs here for people who are going to do it properly. But, I mean, Matt, as you so eloquently put it there are so many people doing it so badly that things are just not watchable.
Right, that's right. It's not watchable.
Through this page, right?
Right. I mean, video content is usually produced and it's cut and it's edited. You know, having just raw footage that's streamed, you know, and sometimes way too long is not something that people often like to watch. It's, you know, it's B-roll and raw footage, and for most people, it's just not that interesting.
No, I see. There was something I saw this morning. Mike Elgin, who I'm sure most of you guys know, big technology guy. He was running a Hangout, and he sat there for 2.5 hours. In fact, 2 hours 37 minutes, and I was so surprised at that. Literally in a Hangout, a live Hangout, and it was basically, and it was grammatically wrong. It said, "Is Hangout on air better than Meerkat and Periscope?" And he sat there, and you must watch it. It's quite funny because he's for the first, literally all the way through, he's going, "I've got 6 viewers now and no comments." And he was getting angry. I'm going, man, you've got to understand the differences here, right? I mean, a Hangout on air, you don't just start it and expect people to come to you.
Right.
With Twitter, it's automatically in your feed. If you've built your following over years and years and years, and people are engaging with you there, they're naturally going to watch and engage with your comments. In Google Plus, just using it standalone in Google Plus, people aren't going to just randomly join you if you haven't got your brand built in that platform. I found it quite, honestly, watch it. It's really quite funny.
Yeah, but that also, like you said, it speaks to the lack of quality that we're seeing in the Periscope videos. And one of the issues that I hope the Periscope team works on is the discoverability of good content. You know, right now you open up your app and you're going to see just random broadcasts from people literally all over the world. You might tune into something that, you know, they're not even speaking a language you can understand, let alone showing you something that you're interested in. You know, some kid in high school speaking Hungarian, I can't understand that. I can't relate to that. I'm not going to enjoy that. Why would I watch? So why put that in my stream? Why show that to me as soon as I open the app? That's right. One of the big things they need to work on.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, there's a couple of comments here. So, I mean, Lee brings in, live streaming doesn't have an addiction ingredient. Fun for now, but we'll go like Vine later. Interesting. Greg certainly agreeing with you. I agree with Matt's comment about poor quality of content being an issue with Periscope and Meerkat. Perhaps it's, oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, perhaps it's too easy to use. Yeah, fair point. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, bless him. I've got to bring this one because it makes me laugh. Nazim did one recently with Mia Voss and another very influential person, and he's saying that they did a backstage makeup show with Mia on Meerkat, and it was great. Prior. Okay, yeah, okay. I've seen a lot of people doing this actually. They're using Meerkat either sides of Hangouts on Air to sort of exclusive backroom footage of a show before it goes live, which they're using as part of the publicity to formulate a Hangout. Interesting. I quite like that idea. Okay, what else have we got coming in?
Yeah, the Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield has been a heavy user of Periscope, and his broadcasts are fantastic. He'll be backstage in his studio recording some music, or about to go into a conference room and give a presentation, and he kind of lets you in as the audience. I'm about to do this, and that's interesting, but it goes back to that celebrity usage that was mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it's all interesting stuff, isn't it? All interesting stuff. Okay. Mike, is there anything else which has sort of been kicking around, which has piqued your interest this week, or is that sort of encapsulated the whole thing that's going on around?
Well, that's certainly been top of the news. The other interesting thing, another interesting development out of Twitter, was their curator service, which goes back to the comment earlier about Twitter trying to keep everything inside of Twitter. They've got this service. It's for agencies, publication agencies, and the idea is to help them find tweets that are from influential people on specific topics, very appropriate, things that can be used inside publications.
Okay.
So if you're writing a story on a sporting event, or you're writing a story on a political event, or whatever, you can use this service to really easily find a tweet that you could embed in there and save you from having to Google or do something else that wouldn't have anything to do with Twitter.
I mean, you'll forgive me, I haven't read about this yet ahead of time. So what you're saying is this is a classic case of sort of curating the best tweets on a particular subject, finding the right influencers that are tweeting about it. Is that fair to say?
Right. Because like Matt said earlier, the Twitter stream today is fairly useless for most of us. To go to our home feed, it's just crazy. All the garbage that's in there, whether you're following quality people or not. And then if you were to do a search on a hashtag, search, St. Louis Rams, you're going to get all kinds of stuff. So the idea here is to really, help you curate that into something a little bit more meaningful, so it's easier and faster for you to find that interesting information. And again, it keeps Twitter into the forefront of mainstream media.
Because, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you mentioned a lot in the book, Matt, about influencer marketing. It's another big sort of pocket that we all need to sort of follow again. I mean, this sounds like it's common sense, right? I mean, it's something that I do, but I don't necessarily do it in-app. But something big advocate within Twitter for this sort of stuff, or are you sort of non-fuss?
Well, this is a software as a service. It's a product.
Right.
So they're hoping that digital agencies, publications, will purchase and subscribe to this service and use it.
Yeah, cool. I was going to say, this is interesting. Okay. I'm just reading some of the streams that are coming through. There's been a few comments about all this as well. I mean, Lee has mentioned that he could do something similar and talking about Nodex, talking about other things. I mean, I use Sprout Social for that sort of stuff. In actual fact, with a lot of the Twitter stuff, I use lists an awful lot, and I still use lists to organize my Twitter stream all the time to find the context. And in fact, somebody asked me this morning, I was trying to send somebody a message, and they said they can't DM me because I'm not following them. Partly because I very, very, very rarely follow anybody, because I generally list them, and I make so many humongous amounts of lists purely to make all of my stuff more contextual, so I can find what I want when I want. But this is interesting. Do you know how much the costs are, Mike?
No, they don't list the price. They want you to contact them and talk to you. So I don't even know if it's a flat fee, if it's based on volume. No idea.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Okay, well, look, I think what we're going to do, it is now sort of 8 minutes to the hour, and I think what we're going to do, unless anybody else has got any sort of comments to sort of talk about anything which is sensational, which is happening at the moment, anything out there from you guys which you want to sort of bring in as a last thing? Finishing off, cool. Alrighty, well, look, that was the Midweek Marketing Mix for this week. I just want to thank my guests for joining me, certainly the ones who I took the mickey out of. Nick, I'm sorry about that, mate, but incredibly valued.
I'll wear a hat next time.
Thanks for that. It won't be so bad next time because you won't be next to Mike. I'm going to bring Mike. Because the combination of the two of you together, it was just really funny when I was hearing you nod to all of the Matt stuff. But Mike, again, thanks for all your help as always. It's really appreciated, and some great insights to what we're doing. And last week it was Meerkat, this week it's Periscope. So we've been streamed twice on 2 different streaming platforms. So that's great to see. So that's great. Thanks for your input. And Matt, finishing off with you and Youth Nation, I wish you the very best of luck with your book tour. How many places are you going to?
Probably almost 15.
Oh man.
I'm all over the place. Yep, it's a grind, but it's been fun.
The family are going to love you for that.
That's for sure.
All right, well, best of luck with the book. And for those of you who obviously want to get a copy of Youth Nation, you can pre-order it. When's it out officially?
It's out 4/20, but you can pre-order it today at youthnation.net.
Perfect. There you go. Absolutely fine. Alrighty, guys. So that's the conclusion of this week's show. I can't go off the right, but there we are. So Midweek Marketing Mix, obviously streamed live through social media today, as well as through Google Plus and YouTube. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Do join me in 2 weeks' time when we've got the latest iteration of Eric Enger's new book on SEO. It's a 3rd edition now. It's come to the 3rd edition of his SEO book. We'll be looking to talk to him about what's been changing in the SEO world over the last couple of years. So I hope you'll join me for that, and some other guests who are joining us as well. So for me, thanks guys, really appreciate it, and see you in a couple of weeks.
Take care.
Thanks everyone.
Yeah.